All right, well, the Young Turks. Ridiculous, insane, awesome, fantastic show for you guys today. A lot of news, okay? Number one, Gibbs has attacked the professional left. Oh, I'm going to start on that. He came into my wheelhouse now. Gibbs, you trying to come to my house? That's a bad mistake, man. Well, I'm going to come at Robert Gibbs, the press secretary, in just a second. And then Sarah Palin, we have a controversy. Was she rolling her eyes or was she not rolling her eyes? Of course, TYT Supreme Court will decide it. She's in some trouble from the, as she describes it, the lamestream media. You want to talk about lame, man? Jesus, what a thing to come out with lamestream media. What are you, 3 years old? I mean, all right, I'll be generous, say third grade. Anyway, we'll get to her in a second. Lamestream media. All right. Furthermore, Newt Gingrich, world of trouble, his ex is speaking out. Oh, elbows are flying from all four corners of the ring. Okay, steel cage match. It's fantastic. And then tragic news today, Ted Stevens died, of course, famous for a series of tubes, among other things. Look, there was a lot to like about Ted Stevens. Now, he was a Republican. I wanted him out of office, corruption charges, etc. But, I feel terrible when something like this happens. We'll discuss that a little bit later in the program, too. All right, so full show. Let's get to it. Robert Gibbs, press secretary for the White House, comes out and makes a statement to The Hill, which is, of course, covers Capitol Hill newspaper. And it's curious. He is attacking liberals and progressives. What people can't figure out is what's the timing behind this? Why do this now? There doesn't seem to be a legislative purpose. There doesn't seem to be an electoral purpose. In fact, going into an election might be kind of stupid to antagonize the people who are thinking whether to vote for you or not, right? But he can't help himself, and he jumps out and he tells The Hill, quote, "I hear these people saying he's like George Bush. Those people ought to be drug tested. I mean, it's crazy." Okay? Now, again, he told The Hill that this is the, quote, professional left that did this, and how dare they compare him to George Bush. First of all, there are some comparisons. I've made those comparisons. I made them on MSNBC last week. I made them before. I made them on this program. And it depends on the situation where it's warranted and where it's not warranted. For example, Obama stopped torture. We gave him credit for that. It's not warranted to compare him to Bush. But Obama's doing warrantless wiretapping, just like Bush did. Obama has signed off on extrajudicial killings of American citizens abroad. That's actually going a little further than George Bush. Now, you might call it crazy, but just show me your argument. You don't have an argument. You just want to say, these crazy left, crazy. We're not left. We're not liberals. No, we're the center. And maybe that's their electoral strategy. But again, it's going to depress your turnout, and it's a terrible electoral strategy. Wrong on the policy, dumb on the politics. Now, he continues. He says, they will be satisfied when we have Canadian health care and we've eliminated the Pentagon. That's not reality. Well, you're right, Gibbsy. That isn't reality because no one in the country has said eliminate the Pentagon. Well, why do you set up that straw man? Because you know that the left wing is actually right, that you have not gone for all of change. And as I've said over and over, you've gone for pocket change. And so that gets under your skin because you know we're right. So instead, you make up arguments. You say, they want to get rid of the Pentagon. What are you going to do? Again, see, Gibbs, what you're not getting is that's why we're frustrated with you. Because you think like the Republicans, you think like Fox News, and you think liberals want to get rid of the Pentagon? That's the nonsense you bought into? Come on. That's pathetic. And by the way, Canadian-style single payer. You know who was in favor of that when running for office? Right, President Barack Obama. All of a sudden, you libs. And by the way, did we say, no, you have to get single payer, otherwise we're against health care? No, we asked for a tiny, minor piece of the pie. It's a little public option, a little competition, so you change the system a tiny amount. That's what we asked for. Instead, we have the same exact system. You didn't just not fight for single payer. That was out of the question. You didn't just not fight for the public option, which is a tiny change. You fought to kill the public option. I don't pretend otherwise. So now why is the professional left angry with you? Because you earned that anger. Okay? And that's what's under your skin because you know we're right. Now, he realized, oops, this is a faux pas. I shouldn't have done this. That was my, as I believe Tim Hardaway would say.
I regret it. I'm sorry. You know, saying I'm sorry. That was just my mistake and my bad. And I'm sorry.
Right. My mistake and my bad. And then when asked to explain, hey, why'd you do this? Why'd you lash out? He has an interesting quote. He says, I watch too much cable, I admit. Who was on cable last week? Giving it to Obama left and right. Just ask him, man. Just ask. Look, I don't know if he watched our show. I don't know if he actually, I think it referenced something that Dylan Ratigan did, okay? And whatever he's watching, there's a reason why he's watching. There's a reason why I did it last week. There's a reason why Dylan Ratigan did it this week. Because we're right. That wasn't real financial reform. And you know it. All of you guys who went in there and said, oh, change, we're going to change the way Washington works. And then as soon as you got in there, you're like, all right, how does Washington work? All right, fantastic. Let's just do it just like that, hopefully just a tiny bit better. You didn't try for change, Gibbs. And you know it, man, and you know it. So now the second part of his apology is very, very convenient. He says, so we should all, me included, stop fighting each other and arguing about our differences on certain policies and instead work together to make sure everyone knows what is at stake because we've come too far to turn back now. Agree to disagree, Mr. Gibbs. I will not do that. We will not do that. And I'll tell you why. Because we're not Republicans. We don't bow our head and say, oh, whatever Bush said, it must be right. I mean, think about this. Think about that issue I brought up first. And there's 100 issues, and you know you've seen me go over all of them, right? But think about warrantless wiretapping. They shreds the Fourth Amendment, no privacy rights anymore. They can just listen in on our conversations, American citizens. Now, why would I be in favor of that when Obama does it, when I wasn't in favor of it when Bush does it? What, am I stupid? Do I lack all principle? Do I lack ethics? That I say, oh, no, I play on Team Democrat. Does Gibbsy want me to carry his water? Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, I'll grab the water and carry it for you. No, warrantless wiretapping is unacceptable under a Republican president, under a Democratic president. If you're upset that we're upset about that, I got an idea for you. Stop doing warrantless wiretapping. And next time you go for quote-unquote reform, try real reform. Try real change. Now, that doesn't mean we're dissatisfied with everything. He also said, oh, they wouldn't be happy if Dennis Kucinich was in office. It depends. What would Kucinich do? Okay? Look, I give Obama credit all the time. We're roughly on schedule for, on Iraq. I even say, hey, you know what? I think he's going to get to don't ask, don't tell. I'm very confident of that. And I say people who criticize him, I get it, but I think he's going in that direction. Let's have a little patience. Now, the fact that he's against gay marriage is bewildering and pathetic. But, you know, I know him. He's a politician. He's getting there. All I'm saying to him is get there a little quick. Okay, but I can live with it. The Disclose Act that they were trying to push, I can live with it. It's not perfect. They have exceptions, but I can live with it as long as the core is okay. Lilly Ledbetter, etc. I've given him credit for all that. But he told us he was going to change the system. And when it came down to the nitty-gritty on the major things, healthcare reform, financial reform, he buckled. He didn't do it. He pretended to do it and then gave the bankers what they wanted. And finally, the perfect example of that and why we're all animated now and why we got under Gibbs' skin is Elizabeth Warren. You know you're not going to nominate her. You know it, right? And you know it's the right thing to do. You know she's a real fighter for consumers, and you know the bankers don't want her. And you're going to do the bankers' bidding. I'm telling you ahead of time. I'm in your face. That's what you're going to do. And then you're going to prove me right, and you're not going to nominate her. And then afterwards, you're going to complain that, oh, no, boo-hoo, the so-called professional left attacked us. Well, yeah, of course I'm going to attack you if you don't do the right thing, if you don't do what you promised, if you don't bring this change and you give in to the bankers on every possible opportunity. That's why we attack you, because we're principled. And we actually mean what we say, unlike some candidates who campaigned on change and gave us pocket change. So you want to get mad at that, Gibbsy? Have at it, Hoss, because I'm going to come for you day in, day out. Now, Representative Keith Ellison, I'm surprised by this, said, no, Gibbs ought to resign. I was like, whoa, really? Because usually Washington, you know, when somebody in office says something like this, all of Washington's like, oh, here. Oh, fantastic, Gibbsy. Way to attack the damn liberals. Liberal, get out. Get. Right? So now Ellison's like, no, why are you insulting our voters before we go to an election? Do you think that's a smart move? And remember what Barack Obama said during the campaign. He said, if we ever, let me see if I can find that exact quote for you. So if we ever step out of line, boy, you better come for us. And, you better keep us honest. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. Here you go. Here's what Obama said. In that spirit, let me end by saying that I don't pretend to have all the answers to the challenges we face, and I look forward to periodic conversations with all of you in the months and years to come. He said, I trust that you will continue to let me and other Democrats know when you believe we're screwing up. Well, I believe that's what we're doing, President Obama. And then he continued by saying, and I in turn will always try and show you the respect and candor one owes his friends and allies. Does that seem like what Barack Obama's doing right now and Robert Gibbs is doing now? No. What did Rahm Emanuel do? He called liberals fucking retarded. Okay? After Bill Halter took on Blanche Lincoln and the union supported him, they said, oh yeah, way to flush your money down the toilet, you idiots. Right? And now Gibbs comes out and says, oh, this professional left, they're crazy. And they want to get rid of the Pentagon and they want a single payer. Okay? So why? It's like, is this a Turkish saying or American saying? I lose track. Okay, why am I going to let you insult me with my money, right? So, I mean, whether it was my money that people donated to Obama, whether it was their money, their time that they donated to Obama, or whether it was their vote that they gave to Obama, well, they give all that to you, your supporters, and then you're going to turn around and slap them across the face, and then wonder why people aren't excited to vote for your ass. Look, last thing on this. This is not a left-right thing, man. You know me, I got no problems being called on the left. Okay, you want to call me liberal, you want to call me super lib, I don't give a damn. I'll plant the goddamn flag in the ground. Okay, you come, I'll meet you there, okay? But it ain't a left-right thing. The right is pissed off, too, that our politicians are bought. A poll just came out. 70% of Republicans, when asked, hey, do you think your lobbyists buy your politicians, said yes. Of course, we all know it. The system is deeply corrupt. And look, the public option and Elizabeth Warren, those are two things we really concentrate on, derivatives reform and financial reform. So you want to say those three things? Why those? Derivatives reform by itself is enormously important. That's not a small thing, right? And I'm not saying Elizabeth Warren or the public option are small. But the reason we focus on those three is because they are indicative. Real change or pocket change, right? Who's in charge? Is the government in charge, or are the powerful and the rich and the corporations in charge? And every time you fail that test, and my guess is you're going to fail the test with Elizabeth Warren again, right? And then we know that the bankers are in charge, and it doesn't matter if the Republicans win the elections or the Democrats win the elections. That's the source of the frustration. Because, I mean, if you had any guts at all, and, I mean, it doesn't take brains. Everybody knows Elizabeth Warren's the right person for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Everybody in the country knows that. If you had any guts at all, and you really believed in change, and the bankers didn't really run the place, well, then you would have made that decision weeks ago. You'd make it tomorrow. But you're not going to, because you're scared. You think the bankers own all the politicians. And you're probably right. But you know what? By not fighting them, they've owned you. And you wonder why we get frustrated. Now, if Chris Dodd is going to do the same thing that his Republican counterpart would do, then why vote for Chris Dodd? Why vote for Democrats? Man, the fact that they don't understand that anger. All right, but last thing. I already said last thing, but I'm going to give you one more last thing, okay? Look, I keep going back to the system is corrupt. The system is corrupt. I'm not saying Obama's a bad guy. I'm not saying Gibbs is a bad guy. I'm saying we got to change the whole thing, and that's what you ran on. And you know, we wanted you to do that because that's what you promised. That's why we elected you. All right, I got to stop because it gets so frustrating. And they sit there in their White House. You know what? At least we got to them. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's why I make a case to you guys. Hey, you know what? Let's get excited. Let's try to get on cable news, because what did Gibbs say? He said, I watch cable too much. Whether we like it or not, whether we think it makes sense or not, the people in power watch cable news. And we went at him and we went at him, and at least we reached him, right? At least they heard, oh, it turns out that some liberals think we're not liberal enough, where I thought we were Maoist, right? All right, okay, that's the first shot. You know what we did? We just threw a little pebble through their window. Okay, now the next, okay, I don't want to get into stone analogies, okay? But at least they heard us. And that's just the beginning. We're going to keep on going. All right, let me take a quick break here. Let me come back with Palin and Gingrich, because these two are precious, okay? Come right back. Get TYT membership. Palin for you here. We got Gingrich for you. And you know what? But before we go on, we found a video that perhaps Gibbsy was referring to when he was talking about how angry he was at watching some folks on cable news attack President Obama for not being progressive enough. Gee, I wonder who he might have been referring to. Let's watch.
Now look, at the beginning of the week, I told you that we would be challenging the government on this show. And I think we delivered. We challenged the Republicans and the president all week long. We took Obama to task for TARP, Elizabeth Warren, civil liberties, and many other issues. But I did want to give the president some parting advice. Please, no more half measures. This country elected you because you ran on the message of change. They gave you huge majorities in the House and the Senate. It was a clear mandate. And what'd you use it for? Healthcare reform, where the private insurances are still our only option. Yes, there were positive parts of the bill, but the system remains the same. And how about financial reform, where the banks are still too big to fail? Don't you get it? If and when they crash the economy again, they're going to blame you. And that's my point. If the banks and the insurance companies and the Republicans and conservative media are all going to attack you with 100% ferocity, no matter what you do, then why didn't you try for 100% change? Instead, we got pocket change. And now if it's not good enough to pull us out of this rut, then they're going to say progressive ideas didn't work. But it ain't over. You still have 2.5 years to take the fight to them. Remember when you said you didn't want to play the same old Washington games a little better? You wanted to change the game? I'm sorry, but right now the game is exactly as it was before. So I'm asking you for your own good, and from now on, to have the courage to give the American people the change you promised them.
I'm sorry, did I bother you, Robert Gibbs? I have no idea if it was us. But I'll tell you what, though. You know what? I read that story, and JR, I thought, man, there's a 5% chance, a 10% chance that that's what he saw, and that's what got him all worked up, and that's why he blurted it out today. Because now, if you walk it back right away and you apologize, that means you probably made a mistake, and you probably shouldn't have said what you said, that it was an accident, right? That it wasn't some part of strategery, right? So, I don't know. If we did, well, then I guess we came to their house, and it's called the White House. So that feels pretty good. All right. Either way, I love that the message got out. All right. Now, let's go to the Republicans. Sarah Palin was talking to a protester. The protester was in front of their Palin's TLC reality series shooting location. So they're doing this TLC show, and then the protester puts up a sign, right? And the sign says, "Worst governor ever." Sarah Palin goes over to talk to her. Now, I want to show you the video. There's a little bit of controversy here as to something that Sarah Palin did during this interaction. I want you to see if you can pick it up, and we'll come back and discuss whether she's guilty or not. Fun for everybody.
You swore on your precious Bible that you would uphold the interests of this state, and then, when cash was waved in front of your face, you quit.
Oh, you wanted me to be your governor. I'm honored.
No, well, I wanted you to honor your responsibilities.
Yeah.
That is what I wanted. And to be a part of the political process instead of becoming a celebrity so that you could, let me get the camera. And if that is the best you can do, then good for you. If that's the best you can do.
Here's the deal. As my administration is being handled, that's what I'm out there fighting for Americans to be able to have a constitution protected so that we can have free speech.
In what way are you fighting for that?
Oh my goodness.
In what way?
to elect candidates who understand the Constitution, to protect our military interests so that we can keep on fighting for our Constitution, those protections, those freedoms that evidently
By using your celebrity status. Certainly not by political.
Celebrity.
Well, you're certainly not. You're
She's
certainly not representing the state of Alaska any longer, even
She's
though.
representing United States.
Yes, I know. You belong to America now, and that suits me just fine. Yeah.
What do you do here?
I'm a teacher. Also, I have a few other jobs. I'm married to a commercial fisherman.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I fish.
So am I. I'm married to.
Yeah.
We probably have a lot in common.
You know, I think that we do. I do think that.
Yeah. Are you doing a video? Yeah, right.
No, is it video?
Yeah.
Too bad. I'm more of a still camera girl. So I will tell you, I'm very pleased to meet you.
I'm honored to meet you. I really am. And no, we both agree on the freedom of speech and the,
Yes, we do.
you know, the protection of that. So, no, best of everything to you too. And yeah,
Thank you for coming over.
Well, okay. It's nice to meet you anyway.
Nice to meet you anyway. All right, so what's the controversy? Because in the beginning, she goes and talks to the lady. That's good. That's American. And they have a conversation back and forth. When she asks the lady, what do you do? And her, by the way, the woman's name is Kathleen Gustafson. She's a school teacher from Homer, Alaska. People think that Sarah Palin rolled her eyes a little bit. And she said, oh, I'm a school teacher. And then Palin looks at her daughter and goes, and then comes back, right? So did she roll her eyes or not? That's the controversy. That's a tight one because she definitely looks at Bristol, and it triggered a thought in me. Before I even read the story, I was like, that was kind of a weird look that she gave. But overall, I'm going to go not guilty because I think you need more proof than, hey, she looked at her daughter and it looked kind of funny. You don't know what's going through her mind. I mean, if she gave like a or whoa, then I say, all right, okay, come on, that was obvious. But even if she did do that, it wasn't obvious enough to say, oh, she's rolling her eyes. Oh, you should criticize her for that, in my opinion. But what I got out of the video was one of them sounds really intelligent. Another one sounds like a Barbie girl. Now, which one's the governor? Right? I mean, the other one's like, hey, you didn't fulfill your commitment to Alaska, and I had some issues with that, and sounds perfectly eloquent. The other one's like, what golly willikers? I'm going through the country doing great things.
Hiya, Bobby.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go for a ride?
Sure, Ken.
Jump in.
I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. Life in plastic.
Come on, doesn't she sound like that? I mean, if you didn't know it all and you said, which one of these two is the governor, you might be like, oh, no. And look at Republicans. Would they have voted for that school teacher? I mean, assuming that they had the right positions? They're voting for Sarah Palin. They're all so excited because they think she's hot. I mean, all those two, who's the smarter one? Come on. Do you think that the Republicans nationwide selected Sarah Palin as one of their leaders because she's that much brighter than the rest of the Republicans? If you think that, I think you're insulting the Republicans more than I am. Okay? And it's sad. It's just sad the way they pick things. And by the way, how have conservative bloggers, et cetera, reacted to this story? Of course. Now, you would think they might say the same thing I did. Oh, I didn't see the eye roll, or it's not good enough, or whatever. No. Sure, that's true, too. But they, of course, went to the tried and true, personally attack Kathleen Gustafson. They're already ripping her apart. Oh, yeah, I bet she's a school teacher. Yeah, right. And they're like trying to dig into her history. She's a woman who held up a sign. She's a citizen. She said, hey, you know what? You should have completed your term in Alaska, among other things, right? So like, oh, we're coming to get her. What are you worried about Kathleen for? She's not the relevant one here. Sarah Palin is. These guys are unreal, man. And Sarah Palin says, how am I a celebrity? Oh, come on, Barbie girl. How are you a celebrity? You quit being governor so you can go on a book tour and get paid $100,000 per speech. Oh, golly gee willikers, she says I'm a celebrity. Is that right? Get. If I was Kathleen, I'd have rough talked her and run her off much worse. Okay. I thought Kathleen did a great job there. Okay. Now, from one clown Republican to another. Uh-oh. Newt Gingrich is in some trouble. Now, he's thinking of running for president in 2012. That's pretty clear, right? So what happened was Esquire did a profile of him. And while doing that profile, not only did they talk to him, but they went and talked to Marianne Gingrich, his second wife. Now, Mr. Family Values, of course, has been married 3 different times. He left one of his wives on her hospital bed when she had cancer, because this guy's a class act. Now, Marianne Gingrich says, you know what, I should have known better, because she's wife number 2. He left her in the same exact way that he left wife number 1 for her, right? And he said, look, I know that we were having an affair before he told his wife and got divorced from her. So I should have seen it coming. It's my fault. And I appreciate her saying that. She said, and lo and behold, some years later, same exact thing happened to me. Turns out the woman's having an affair before we're divorced, and Newt comes up to me and says, okay, get, right? And she said, what's going on? And then she found out that Newt had been bringing the other woman to the house, to their house, and sleeping in their bed, etc. Oh, that ain't right. Okay, and that ain't family values. So when they go and talk to a priest about, hey, or their clergy, I should say, about, hey, how can we resolve this or whatever? Newt asks her, hey, do you mind if I just, maybe if we don't get divorced, but I just continue the affair? She's like, yeah, I mind. I don't think it's going to work out that way. And she said, why are you doing this? And he says, well, look. He says, you're a jaguar, and quote, I can't handle a jaguar right now. She says that he said that many times. All I want is a Chevrolet. Now I've done some bad breakups in my life, okay, so I know how this goes. But this is a terrible breakup line. Oh, baby, you're too good for me. You're a jaguar. I can't handle a jaguar. I'm just dating this beat up Chevrolet. I mean, she had a dump, and that's what I need in my life now. Now, if you're Newt Gingrich's wife and you see this quote, how you feel now? Because you're the Chevrolet, his wife number 3. It just keeps getting worse and worse. All right, let him step into it a little bit more. Now, mind you, these are quotes from Marianne Gingrich. It's her perspective, so you understand that, right? He had just given a speech on family values and compassion, right? And they're going through the divorce, and Marianne Gingrich says to him, what are you doing, man? I mean, I can't believe you just gave that speech. Family values, are you kidding me? And this is her recollection of what happened next. She said, quote, he told her, it doesn't matter what I do. People need to hear what I have to say. There's no one else who can say what I can say. It doesn't matter what I live. Oh, now if Marianne's right about that quote, that is just devastating. I mean, that is conservatives in a nutshell. No one's more important than I am, okay? And if I don't say it, who else is going to say it? Who cares how I live? No, that's for the little people. Actual family values isn't for important people like me. In fact, let me go to quote number 4 here, Jesus, just skip ahead one. When asked, why do you think he does this stuff? Marianne Gingrich said, look, quote, he was impressed easily by position, status, money. He grew up poor and always wanted to be somebody, to make a difference, to prove himself, And so that's what's eating Newt up. And so he thinks, look, this is my one opportunity to marry 3 different women. Okay? And then to talk about family values and convince the country that's the right way to go, when I'm doing something completely different. Marianne comes back to that one more time. She says, quote, he believes that what he says in public and how he lives don't have to be connected. If you believe that, then yeah, you can run for president. He always told me he was always going to pull the rabbit out of the hat. Again, if you believe Marianne, his Newt Gingrich's second wife, this is devastating stuff. He thinks, I could pull a rabbit out of a hat. I could trick the American people all the time. It's not a big deal. I just lie to them. Pretend I'm for family values and then cheat on you with my Chevrolet. Just like I did with my first wife and you. Okay? That's Newt Gingrich, and that's conservative hypocrisy perfectly exemplified. You think he's going to win for president? Okay. You know what Newt's problem is? It's not this. The conservatives will get over this. You know why? They know. They're all hypocrites, too. They forgive everyone. The Rush Limbaugh is a drug addict. Who cares? Pardon him. Bill O'Reilly's a sex addict. Who cares? I don't know if he's an addict, but he sexually harassed his producer. We have it on tape, right? He's trying to rub loofahs and falafels all over her, right? Pardon, okay? Bill Bennett wrote a book of values. He lost $8 million, all his family's money, gambling on slots. What a loser, right? Pardon. Because they don't care. They don't care. Because their point isn't to actually practice family values. Their point isn't to actually have morals. I'm saying his followers. I'm not even saying about their leaders. Their point is to judge other people and to feel better about themselves by judging and criticizing and moralizing. So as long as Newt does that and Rush and Bill O'Reilly, et cetera, do that, they do whatever they want in their private life. Who cares? But that's not why Newt isn't going to win the presidency. He's not going to win because he's inherently unlikable. People look at Newt Gingrich, they see him talk, and he thinks he's so smart. It has to be me. You see the quotes? It has to be. I'm the one who has to say it. No one else can convince them, right? So when he starts talking like that, it oozes out of him. And you look at him and you go, oh, man. He's like the opposite of Bill Clinton. Right or wrong, right? And I don't agree with his policies, and you know that. Although from time to time I will agree with Gingrich. That's a story for another day. But 90% of the time I don't. But it ain't about that. He's just, as a politician, he's not very good at it. People look at Bill Clinton and go, he feels my pain, right? They look at Newt Gingrich and they think he wants to give me pain. So, Newt, it ain't going to work out. Just wrap it up. Go on to your fourth wife. Everything will be all right. You still make plenty of money. You go on your Fox News. You cash in, and you get a couple more Chevrolets, okay? That's my friendly advice to you. Now, let's take a quick break here. I want to come back. There's a very important election I want to talk about. I got a funny clip from a Democrat, and then I want to talk about Ted Stevens, though. Tragic death today. And I got a lot of things out of that. I want to talk to you about that. Come right back.
3 o'clock to try to catch a cue, ride my jock, my homeboy's G, the system blasting, cold 40 dogs, smiling.
All right, back on the Young Turks. All right. Before we do anything else, let's have a little bit of fun. Charlie Rangel is going to give a little speech on the House floor about how he's not going away. I just enjoy it every time Charlie Rangel speaks. So let's go forward. Let's go to clip number 3.
Why did I take the floor today?
Why?
I haven't found one lawyer that said I should do it. I haven't even found one friend that said I should do it. But I thought about it. If the lawyers are going to continue to charge me, and I don't even know when the hearing's going to be, and I can't tell them that I want 1 and not 6 lawyers. I don't want to offend the ethics committee. They're doing the best they can. Hey, I'm 80 years old. All my life has been, from the beginning, public service. That's all I've ever done. Been in the Army, been a state legislator, been a federal prosecutor, 40 years here. And all I'm saying is that if it is the judgment of people here, for whatever reason, that I resign, then heck, have the ethics committee expedite this. Don't leave me swinging in the wind until November. If this is an emergency, and I think it is, to help our local and state governments out, what about me? I don't want anyone to feel embarrassed, awkward. Hey, if I was you, I may want me to go away too. I am not going away.
I'm amused by that in 800 different ways. What about me? What about Charlie Rangel? Apparently, the other Democrats have been telling him, well, you know what's coming.
Get.
They're trying to
Rough talk him and run him off.
And he said, you're not going to run me off. What about me? Charlie, what are you doing, man? You're 80 years old. Go take a load off, man. When they busted you on this charges, and you might disagree with 1 or 2, and you say, oh, I used the wrong stationery. Get off my ass. I hear you on that. But they got you on a lot of stuff, Charlie. They got you on 4 different apartments in New York. And they're all being your primary residence. And that don't make no kind of sense. They got you, let's put it this way. So they certainly have you on enough stuff, right? You're 80, man. You should have cut a deal and earlier and head off the charges so they never charge you in the first place. I'm trying to help you out to give you advice on how to be corrupt better, okay? Now, I don't want that, and that's why I'm trying to run you out of town, because it ain't got to do with Democrats or Republicans. I got no interest in a Democrat taking my money more than I do a Republican taking my money. But if you were smart, and you've been smart all these years as a crafty politician, for better or for worse, you cut off the charges ahead of time, you retire and have a nice 80th birthday party, and then go off to the Bahamas where you apparently have too many houses, too many tax breaks you shouldn't have had. Okay, sail off into the Caribbean. This is embarrassing and silly. Now, as to the Republicans who say, you see, they're corrupt Democrats. Well, that's partly true. And you know what? If you're in power for a long time, guess what happens? A lot of people abuse that power. That's why there's got to be a media to watch out for these guys, right? And that's got to be honest and attack both sides, challenge the government, right? But the second part of the Republican argument is not a very good one, because they say, oh, you see that? They promised change, but here they are with their corruption. But wait a minute. You're never going to get rid of corruption entirely. What the Democrats had promised was, if we find corruption within our own ranks, we're going to charge those people, try them, and remove them. And that's exactly what they're doing with Charlie Rangel, and they're doing it in the middle of an election. You got to give them credit for that. Look, I want them to clean things up, but that's how you clean it up. Even Charlie Rangel can understand that. Okay, so that's my thoughts on Charlie Rangel. Now, let's talk about Ted Stevens. Longtime Alaska senator. In fact, when he lost the election, he was the longest-serving Republican in the history of the United States Senate. And he was, of course, from Alaska, known to have gotten a lot of projects for Alaska. Look, the upside of that is, if you live in Alaska, he was your senator. He represented the heck out of you, man. He funneled a tremendous amount of money to Alaska. Now, if you don't live in Alaska, you think those pork barrel projects were unacceptable. They were disastrous. For example, of course, the very famous Bridge to Nowhere, which was going to cost $450 million and was going to serve about 3.5 people. Okay, why? Because it's not just because Ted Stevens wanted to do a favor for his home state. It's because those are his contributors, and then they get to build a $450 million bridge and pocket a lot of that, and then they funnel some of that back to Ted Stevens. In fact, eventually he lost because of corruption charges that were brought against him. Now later, to be fair to Ted Stevens, Eric Holder came in and dropped those charges because of prosecutorial misconduct. I think Eric Holder was probably right in doing that. Having said that, that doesn't mean Ted Stevens wasn't corrupt. It means the prosecutors were basically cheating, and that you can't have that. That's how our system works. The charges get dropped. But he built that extension on his house, and he didn't pay a dime for it. The corporations did. Now, it never got proven, and now, you know, he's the late Ted Stevens. But don't get me wrong, just because he passed away doesn't mean that he gets a pass on all that he did, right? And, of course, he was famous for his comment about the internet being a series of tubes. And then, do I have that one here? Probably not. But the famous, actually famous to no one else outside of TYT. But in the middle of an interview, when he kept getting asked about corruption over and over, he said, "Oh, no, not again." And we love that. So, but, you know, as I was thinking about this, so of course, as with every politician and every person, Ted Stevens has a big upside, big downside. You know, that's life, right? For some reason, I like Ted Stevens. There was something anachronistic, you know. I didn't like him in terms of his policies. And, you know, if I knew him as a person, I'm not sure I'd have liked him. But he was an old lion of the Senate, and he was old school corruption, right? He's like, you know, you do something and you get a couple $100 million there, everybody gets rich at home, and then they build you an extension on their house, right? And he was like an old codger. He's like, what is this internet with the tubes? I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but there's something slightly likable about that. Even as I fought against him on policy grounds, corruption grounds, etc. But, you know, I thought about the plane crash, and that's tough, man. First off, don't take small planes. It's always small planes, especially if you're rich or famous. Oh, ixnay on the small planes, eh? I know my pig Latin sucks, okay, but don't do it. You know that Ted Stevens had been in a small plane crash in 1978? He was one of 2 people that survived that crash. His wife died on that crash, and then he got remarried, right, later in life. Right? So, and he was going up fishing. It ain't worth the fishing, man. And there was a lot of people on this plane, including ex-NASA chief Sean O'Keefe. By the way, that goes towards one of the problems in our government, too. Now, luckily, Sean O'Keefe survived, okay? He was also in the Bush administration, O'Keefe was, and he was a NASA administrator, as I just explained. He was the chief of NASA. And what is O'Keefe doing now? Of course, he left government, joined a defense contractor, EADS, and is lobbying for a $100 billion contract using his old contacts. Okay, that's the much bigger problem in terms of corruption. Ted Stevens can build all the extensions on his house he wants. I'm much worried about that $100 billion going to EADS because of systemic corruption, right? But last thought on it is this. Like, you know, Ted Stevens was 86 years old. And look, we're all going to go at some point, right? But, you know, Robert Byrd, old age, Ted Kennedy, old age, etc. You know, my grandfather, old age, it happens, right? My grandfather was 86 too. Man, you're on that plane and it's headed down. Those last moments are tough. That's tough for everybody, man. It's obviously tough for the survivors. Very, very tough, obviously, for the people who didn't make it. And, you know, so my heart goes out to him as a human being, you know? And I think, what would I have thought in those last moments? Man, that crystallizes things for you. It really does. I'm going to go on my usual, you know, hokey jank rant. Enjoy every day, man. You never know when it's your last. And if it's your last and you're on that plane and it's going down, you got to be thinking, oh, I should have done more. Now, the thing is, you got to give it to Ted Stevens. He did a lot. You know, for good, for better or for worse, he did a lot, and he got his extension before he went. So, you know, a long life, in a lot of ways well lived. It's a shame, of course, that he went out this way. All right. And remember, these people, as much as I go after them, politicians, et cetera, and we got to, right? But there's also human beings. So, now, speaking of politics, there's a very important race today, actually, in Colorado. Bennett versus Romanoff. Bennett is the current incumbent, Michael Bennett, supported by Barack Obama. Do you guys know about this? There's drama here. So, Michael Bennett, supported by Obama. Obama does, you know, came in and did a video conference for him, fundraiser, et cetera. Oh, we got to get Michael Bennett. Why? Of course, Michael Bennett is the incumbent, is the establishment candidate. He's the one that replaced Ken Salazar when Salazar went to the Interior Department. Now, Andrew Romanoff was in state politics. He's a Democrat. And Romanoff said, I'm not taking any PAC money, and I'm not taking any money from lobbyists, okay? And Bennett is the guy who worked for Philip Anschutz. I never know how to pronounce his name. He's the massive conservative multimillionaire. I'm not sure if I think he might be a billionaire. He runs many of the conservative publications, et cetera. And Bennett used to work on his hedge fund, okay? Now, I don't have time for it here, and we're going to see what the result of the election is. But the New York Times ran an excellent piece, actually that was from a local newspaper in Colorado originally, about how Bennett got the Department of Education when he was running it in Colorado to do a risky derivatives trade, basically a swap more than a derivatives trade. And he thought he was being clever. And it turns out, boom, it backfired, and now Denver's school system is down about $400 million, to oversimplify. You should read the New York Times story for the exact details, okay? But Bennett royally screwed it up. And Bennett is one of the senators taking the most amount of corporate money in the whole Senate. And here comes an interesting part of the drama. So Bill Clinton endorses Romanoff. Uh-oh, Clinton versus Obama. So everybody's having fun. Look, nobody's clean in this. Romanoff ran a really tough campaign against Bennett, which I like. He attacked him on taking money and then voting accordingly. Some of Bennett's votes were definitely wrong, were definitely pro-corporatist. So in the end, it looks like I would, you know, politics is always about the lesser evil, right? And I don't know enough about Romanoff to call him a lesser evil. But knowing Bennett's record, I'd go for Romanoff, right? So Romanoff appears to be the more progressive one. Let's put it that way, right? So let's see what happens tonight. And Bennett, of course, since he collected all that corporate cash, outspent him 5-1. So let's see what happens. Is he, gonna pull it out, and Romanoff gonna pull it out, and the progressive wins, or is the incumbent with the help of Barack Obama and the corporate cash gonna win again? That's why there's interesting drama tonight. Hey, one other thing, guys. How long is that clip from Radigan's show? Is it 1, 2, 3 minutes? What is it? About 2 minutes or so? All right, because I want to play this for you guys, and I want to make sure we have enough time. I think we do. So, 3 minutes? Screw it. Let's play it. Okay. Dylan Radigan did this on his show today, which was incredibly nice of him. And I just wanted to make sure that all of our members and everybody who watches the show online also saw it. So let's check this out.
Cenk, as you know, I think you're fabulous. I think you're brilliant. I think that the country is better by virtue of the fact that your voice is being heard. we have been fortunate not only to have your contributions to this show and to all of us to learn more about what you and the Young Turks are doing, but also obviously had a very successful last week hosting the 3 o'clock show. I know you're going to be filling in for Ed Schultz in the next few weeks. You're charismatic, you're handsome, you're dapper, you're hardworking. The list is long. The only barrier that I can see between you and the king of all media is the pronunciation of this right here. You see that? And so I took to the streets on your behalf to try to solve this problem so that you can move on with the Howard Sternness of it all. I want you to take a look. All you have to do is you got to look at the words that I'm showing you and pronounce them.
Cenk, Cenk,
That's not my name. That's not my name. That's not my name. That's not my name.
Cenk Uygur?
Cenk Uygur? What would a Cenk Uygur be? Person, a thing, a place? Would you visit there? Would you take a vacation?
Yeah.
You might vacation in Cenk Uygur. Cenk Uygur. Cenk Uygur. And what would you do with a Cenk Uygur? Drive it.
That's not my name. That's not my name. That's not my name. That's not my name.
Ever seen a Cenk Uygur? Never? All of France, you've never seen a Cenk Uygur. Sounds like an animal. Animal? There's somebody's name, but I don't know who it is.
It sounds like a vacation destination.
Yeah. You think it'd be an expensive place to go?
I would think so, yeah.
What would a Cenk Uygur be?
Very good friend of yours from a foreign country.
Very good. That's correct.
By a name like that, good luck though.
That's not my name. That's not my name.
I think they're up for it, Cenk. It's just the CJ thing. How do we end up with a C that sounds like a J? I think if we can get through that one, Howard Stern's got nothing on you, my man.
Well, I didn't make it up. That's the Turkish language. The C is pronounced like a J. But I love that. I like the idea of being an animal, a lion, a car, a vacation destination. Okay, those are all good things, man. I'll take it and run.
And they thought you were an expensive and exotic vacation destination at that, my friend. High-priced talent. A pleasure to see you. Look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right, thank you, Dylan.
Cenk Uygur, Young Turks, friend of the program to say the least.
All right, man, that was very, very nice of him. Jesus. I like the guy at the end. He said, with a name like that, good luck to him. I appreciate that note, too. And by the way, a lot of them got the last name right. Not bad, Uygur. Okay. Although, actually, I'm mispronouncing it, but that's a whole different story. Okay. Oh, you know what? Since I brought it up, in the postgame today, I'll tell you my crazy secret Muslim name. Uh-oh. That ought to be fun. All right. Young Turks.
What happened to my master plan?